If you lost your husband and nobody from Social Security ever sat you down and explained what happens next, you are not alone. And what I'm about to tell you in the next few minutes could mean the difference between struggling every month and getting a check that's rightfully yours. There is one form, just one, that most widows never hear about, not from their bank, not from their lawyer, sometimes not even from Social Security itself. And if you don't file it, you could be leaving hundreds of dollars a month on the table every single month for the rest of your life. So if you're 60 or older and your husband has passed, please stay with me for the next few minutes. I promise to walk you through this slowly, clearly, and gently. No jargon, no confusion, just what you need to know. Welcome back. If you're new here, this channel exists for one reason: to help widows understand the money and paperwork side of loss, because grief is hard enough without also feeling lost in forms, deadlines, and phone calls nobody prepares you for. I know that when you lose a spouse, the last thing on your mind is Social Security paperwork. You're thinking about him, about the house, about how quiet things suddenly feel. And that's exactly why so many women miss out on money they are completely entitled to, because nobody hands you a checklist when you're grieving. The system expects you to ask the right questions at the worst possible time. So today we're going to talk about survivor benefits, what they are, who qualifies, how much you could receive, and the one form that makes all the difference. Even if you think you already know about Social Security, stay with me because there are details in here that surprise almost every widow I've spoken with, including some who've been receiving benefits for years and didn't realize they were shortchanging themselves. Let's start simple. When your husband worked and paid into Social Security over his lifetime, he built up what's called a benefit amount, the check he would have received or was already receiving in retirement. When he passes away as his widow, you may be entitled to receive that benefit, sometimes his full amount, sometimes a percentage of it, instead of or in addition to your own Social Security benefit. Here's the part that surprises people. This is not automatic. Social Security does not always reach out to widows and say, here's what you're owed. In many cases, you have to apply. You have to know it exists. And you have to know the right time to file, because filing at the wrong age can permanently reduce what you receive. That's the heart of what we're covering today. So who actually qualifies for this survivor benefit? Let's go through it clearly. First, you generally need to have been married to your husband for at least 9 months before he passed, unless his death was accidental or you're the parent of his child, in which case that waiting period doesn't apply. Second, age matters, but maybe not the way you think. You can start receiving a reduced survivor benefit as early as age 60. If you wait until your own full retirement age, which for most widows today is between 66 and 67, you receive the full unreduced amount. And if your husband passed before he ever filed for his own Social Security, don't worry, you can still claim based on what he would have received. Third, if you are disabled, you may qualify for survivor benefits even earlier, as young as age 50 under different rules. Fourth, and this one surprises a lot of women, if you remarry before age 60, you generally lose eligibility for survivor benefits based on your late husband's record. But if you remarry after age 60 or after age 50 if disabled, your survivor benefits are protected. Nobody tells widows this. And I've heard from women who quietly avoided remarrying because they assumed they'd lose everything. That's simply not true after age 60. And finally, even if you're divorced from a previous marriage but were married 10 years or more, you may still have options here too. We'll cover that in a future video because it deserves its own full explanation. Now let's talk numbers, because I know that's really what you came here for. If you wait until your full retirement age to claim survivor benefits, you can receive up to 100% of what your husband was receiving or would have received at the time of his passing. If you claim earlier, starting at age 60, that amount is reduced, generally down to around 71.5% of his full benefit. It increases gradually the longer you wait, up until your full retirement age. Here's an example to make this real. Let's say your husband was receiving $2,400 a month from Social Security when he passed. If you wait until your full retirement age to claim survivor benefits, you could receive close to that full $2,400 a month. If you claim at 60 instead, you might receive closer to $1,700 a month. That's a difference of roughly $700 every single month for the rest of your life. Over 20 years, that's over $160,000 in difference. This is exactly why the timing decision matters so much, and why so many widows unknowingly leave money behind simply because nobody explained the math to them. Now, I want to be honest with you. Sometimes claiming earlier is still the right choice, especially if you need the income now to cover bills, housing, or medical costs. There's no universally correct answer here, but you deserve to make that decision with the full picture, not by accident. So here's the form I promised you at the beginning. It's called Form SSA-10, the application for widows or widowers insurance benefits. This is the form that officially starts your survivor benefit claim. Without filing this or applying through your local Social Security office or the SSA website, your survivor benefits generally will not begin, even if you qualify. Here's what you'll need when you file: your husband's Social Security number, your marriage certificate, his death certificate, your own Social Security number and birth certificate, if applicable, divorce decrees from previous marriages. You can file this form online at ssa.gov, by phone by calling Social Security directly, or in person at your local Social Security office. I always recommend calling ahead or making an appointment because in-person wait times can be long, and having someone walk you through it step by step tends to reduce mistakes. One important note: benefits are generally not retroactive beyond 6 months from your application date. That means if you wait a year after becoming eligible to file, you could lose months of payments you were otherwise entitled to. This is exactly why so many widows lose out. Not because they didn't qualify, but because nobody told them the clock was already running. Let's talk about the mistakes I see most often, because avoiding these is just as important as knowing the rules. Mistake 1: assuming Social Security will automatically switch you over to survivor benefits. They usually will not. You need to apply. Mistake 2: claiming survivor benefits at 60 without checking whether it's better to wait, especially if you're still working or have other income sources. Mistake 3: not realizing you may be able to claim your own retirement benefit first and switch to the survivor benefit later, or vice versa, whichever gives you the higher lifetime payment. This strategy is called a restricted application, and very few widows are told about it. Mistake 4: believing that remarriage before 60 completely closes every door. It closes the survivor benefit door based on that specific marriage, but every situation is different, so it's always worth checking your specific case with Social Security directly. Mistake 5: waiting too long to file and losing months of retroactive payments in the process. If you take away nothing else from this video, take away this: don't guess, don't assume, and don't wait. A short phone call to Social Security or 15 minutes filling out the SSA-10 could mean thousands of dollars over the years ahead. Let me share a quiet example that reflects what so many widows go through. I'll call her Margaret, though her story is really the story of countless women. Margaret lost her husband at 63. She was overwhelmed, Funeral arrangements, family calling, the house suddenly too quiet. Social Security was the last thing on her mind. 18 months later, a friend mentioned survivor benefits, almost in passing. Margaret had no idea she qualified. She called Social Security, filed the SSA-10, and began receiving payments. But she had already lost over a year of benefits she couldn't fully recover because of that retroactive limit we just talked about. Margaret's story isn't about a mistake she made. It's about a system that assumes you already know the rules at the exact moment in your life when you have the least capacity to research them. That is exactly why this video exists, so that you don't have to learn this the hard way, the way Margaret did. So here's what I want you to do, in simple order, this week if you can. Step 1. Gather your documents. Marriage certificate, his death certificate, both Social Security numbers. Step 2. Call Social Security at their national number or visit ssa.gov to ask specifically about survivor benefits eligibility based on your exact age and situation. Step 3. Ask them directly whether it makes more sense for you to claim your own benefit first and switch later, or claim survivor benefits now. Don't be afraid to ask this question plainly. You deserve a clear answer. Step 4. File Form SSA-10 as soon as you've decided on your path, so you don't lose any retroactive months. Step 5. Keep a copy of everything you submit and write down the date you applied and who you spoke with. None of these steps require a lawyer or a financial advisor. They simply require a little bit of your time and the confidence to ask the questions you deserve answers to. I know that navigating all of this while grieving is not easy. Nobody prepares you for the amount of paperwork that follows losing someone you loved. But please know this: asking for what you're owed is not something to feel guilty about. Your husband worked for this. You built a life together for this. This is not charity. This is yours. If this video helped make something feel a little clearer today, I'd be so grateful if you'd subscribe. Every week, I share another piece of this journey, so you never have to face these decisions without someone walking beside you. And if you know another widow who might need to hear this, a sister, a neighbor, a friend from church, please consider sharing this with her. Sometimes the person who needs this information most isn't searching for it themselves. Someone just needs to hand it to them gently. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take care of yourself this week, and I'll see you in the next video.